Congratulations to Gordon and Amanda. Hey everyone, welcome back here to the North American LCS. We've had a fun little time during the break. It's pretty awesome.
Hey, every time those people can get happy is a good time.
I agree. It's been wonderful here. We've got a lot of great experiences here in the studio this year so far. What's up, everyone? The caster desk is here with some new faces. I am David Freak Turley. With me is Joshua Jat Leesman. This man is awesome, Canadian and American. It's great.
Yes, dual citizenship is fantastic.
Yeah?
Yeah.
It's good. You're like more North American than any player in this building.
Yeah.
You count twice. It's amazing. We are gearing up for... I just like complimenting you, it's all. Guys, we're gearing up for our next match. It's Team Solomid versus Team Dignitas. And now, of course, a lot of people will be watching Dignitas' new jungler, Azingi.
Yeah, and to go back a little bit, Team Dignitas did start the year 1-3. They brought on Cloud and Wind, and then they went 3-3. So they have kind of put themselves out of that auto-relegation zone. And it's clear, though, that Dignitas is not just content avoiding last place. I mean, these guys are a part of the old guard of the North American LCS. When you look at it, there's only 4 teams that have been in the LCS since the beginning, and Dignitas is one of those teams. They're going to continue to try out new junglers now until they find one that fits them and they feel like they can become a top-tier team, Dignitas, once again.
Yeah, and the roster turmoil for Dignitas has, as we've seen, sort of produced mixed results, so we'll see if the upswing does happen here. But it's going to be a very tough match for Azingi. Now, we talked about him in the beginning of the show, but for those of you just joining us, he was on a challenger team, TSM Darkness. Problem is, TSM Darkness was the last place challenger team here, and now he's facing up against the first place LCS team, TSM.
It's a bit of a jump.
Bit of a difficult struggle for him, but we'll see if just having a better supporting staff around him of Team Dignitas will make him rise to the occasion. There also may be some cracks in the TSM armor. They are coming off a loss to Team Liquid, so maybe they can jump in while maybe they're still reeling.
Yeah, to go back to that game, it was a 53-minute match, which makes it the longest game so far this split in North America. But TSM just would not stop fighting. They had every turret down, every inhib down, and then they staged several valiant base defenses. They actually aced Team Liquid twice to keep that game alive. And in the larger picture, it's kind of a never-say-die attitude that TSM has. Even in best-of series, losing a game, being down 2-1, they will continue to fight, and they show that they improve as the series or season goes on. I mean, if anything, it was actually a feel-good loss for the fans because of how well Turtle performed down the stretch.
Mm-hmm. And we'll see if TSM can keep playing well with their sort of new styles and new sort of interesting champion compositions as well with Bjergsen and co. But we're going to check out the starting lineups for now. On the blue side is Team Solomid, Dyrus in the top lane, Santorin in the jungle, Bjergsen in mid, Wild Turtle, Valiant on AD carry, and Lustboy on support.
And on the red side, it is Team Dignitas. Gamsu in the top lane, the new guy Azingi in the jungle. See how he can do. Shifter in the mid lane, Core JJ on AD carry, and of course Kiwi Kid on support.
All right, so interesting battles to watch then as we see Azingi's, I believe, LCS debut. I don't think he's been pulled up to sub for a team before, but I could be incorrect on that one. He's certainly one of the players who has been pulled from solo queue, has played now a fair bit in Challenger. And he's a player, if you don't know, who's really known for very oddball champion picks.
Which is kind of strange, right? Azingi has been on the public's mind for quite some time because he always shows up in high elo streams playing those oddball picks. I mean, this is a guy who has huge wins on Karthus and Fiddlesticks again and again, making it really hard on people. I've also seen him doing a lot in solo queue. He played a bunch of Warmogs Vi and would just take Dragon early on in the game, not really do anything, get the Warmogs, win chaotic fights. But then you look at the champions that this dude actually plays in Challenger, and they're the conventional fare. Which kind of removes the greatest strength that Azingi brings. But at the same time, you do have to fit into the team you're joining, and they're not used to playing with cards and Fiddlesticks.
Sure, of course not, but Dignitas picked him for a reason. They think that when he plays Jarvan, Vi, Pantheon, and okay, maybe Fiddle, right, they can make that work. Dignitas, they want to be a go-in team, and we'll see if Azingi can fit that mold for these guys. They wanted him over Cloudwind, who was at least passable with these guys. Mylixia there, the coach for Dignitas, reading off. Thing is, I don't know why he's talking to Kiwi Kid. That guy can't click anything right now. It's all Gamsu.
We'll have to see. I feel like their pick and ban phases have been quite solid, considering Mylixia is not a full-time coach. He just does as much as he can helping out. Kiwi Kid actually had nothing but good things to say about Mylixia and what he has done to help out the team.
And as picks and bans go through, Shifter, we talked
Kassadin
about
being
that.
banned.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
first ban Kassadin's huge.
We have to talk about that. I mean, it was, what was it, 3 games in a row that he's played Kassadin. 10-1-9 against Team 8. Even in their loss to COG, he was good on Kassadin. And 13-2 against Winterfox in their win. He was destroying people on Kassadin. But with that being down, I wonder if he goes to something like LeBlanc or if he defaults to Xerath. It'd be really interesting.
Or does he find another assassin? Does he play Zed or Talon or something suddenly and get these big plays? Team Solo mid, they banned the Thresh away. They're leaving up Kiwi Kid's Annie unless they first pick it, the Veigar away from Lustboy. Now, no Fiddlesticks ban. I will mention that in case Zingy does play it.
So, is that a thing? Would people ban Fiddlesticks in Challenger against Team Solomon Darkness?
So, TSM Darkness got... they went 1-1 against CLG Black, and Fiddle was banned both games, I believe. He did not go to his Karthus. He played Vi and Pantheon then. And then they played against TDK. They didn't ban Fiddlesticks. He didn't play it, and they got 2-0. So...
Fair enough.
Every game they could have banned Fiddlesticks, or could have played Fiddlesticks and didn't, they lost. If that even counts as anything.
The Karthus manner. Lysandra makes sense in the first pick right here. One of the highest winner champions in the North American LCS.
Sorry, I just got excited.
Why not? 13-1, you can see Lysandra in North American LCS.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, TSM is the only team to have beaten Lysandra as well.
Huh.
It would make sense for the Annie.
Yeah.
The Karthus would be stylish as well as potentially good for a Zingy. I expect the Annie, I think they're going to be going with something like Vi here.
I think Annie's Sivir would just make more sense being their contested champions. They're strong. They're things that Dignitas likes to play. It again makes me wonder why Thresh was banned, unless they're trying to make Dig pick Annie here and there's something else good coming soon for TSM.
That's very unexpected. Because Kiwi Kid relies so heavily normally on his anti-playmaking ability, but now Morg, The thing is, Morg can go in 3 different lanes. That is not necessarily a tell.
Yeah, so Dignitas picking up an early flex pick. Now, Lustboy, of course, is known to play the Annie, though, himself, and it seems like neither team really falling into that trap right now. Santorin gets his Rek'Sai. TSM maybe locking in all their solo lanes right away and waiting on their bot lane, interestingly enough. They do know they're facing Graves. I've heard different players say different things about how he fares in various matchups. But TSM, just in opposite order, basically have picked their top 3 players.
And TSM has also just kind of picked power picks here. There's no counter picking going on, and there really won't be that much counter picking going on by the end of it. They had a decent idea that they were against Graves Morg bottom lane. Yes, that could have flexed, but they could have very easily done that here. Since they had already decided to pick Bjergsen's champion, Maokai is a generalist pick as well. Why not just make sure they get the composition they want?
Well, this could be the time we see Hecarim actually succeed in the top lane, though, if they go for this one. That said, Gamsu really well known for his Renekton play. It will be Vi for Zingy. That's been one of his more successful champions, though. And we still keep Morgana as flex.
Yeah, not too surprised there by Dignitas' picks. It does seem like they're picking for comfort, which can be a good thing, but having the support and AD carry pick, especially since they're both utility picks there for TSM, saved for last, they still complete their team comp very well with those 2 picks. The Janna for the disengage on Renekton and Vi, as well as the Sivir just for general initiation because they have very good follow-up with Maokai and Lysandra.
Well, you asked what Dignitas is going to play in the mid lane now that Kassadin is banned. It looks like that champion's going to be Ezreal here for Shifter. So back to a more disengagey, long-range, safe-style champion.
And against Lysandra, I can't say I fully agree with that pick. It feels like the ability to engage from TSM could run right through that Ezreal. After all, he does just have the Arcane Shift to get away, and TSM's going to be able to close more distance than that.
I absolutely agree that they can get in really cleanly, and also keep in mind that Dignitas have also committed one of the big cardinal sins of a double AD comp, which is running an AD top and jungler as well. So you've got a mono damage team from Dignitas outside of Ez-ult and Smoke Bomb and support Morgana. So I am a little bit concerned for them, but you know what? Dignitas have been playing fairly well, and they think Zingy's going to be improving them, as TSM with this game can hold on to first place for sure.
Yeah, Locodoco giving the last few bits of advice to that team. I'm pretty sure that after every single pick and ban phase, he tells them, "We got this one in the bag," and he walks away. This time, I tend to agree based on the team composition, though.
Yeah, well, we're going to see if that's going to happen. TSM could look pretty good on this one. Locodoco and Mylixia leave stage, and we're going to get ourselves ready for the game. So you guys have all seen the team comps. Now let us know who you think is going to win this one. Tweet hashtag TSM win or hashtag DIG win to @LoL Esports. Vote for your favorite team or the one you think is going to win. Both are acceptable.
Yeah, that's true. Oftentimes, I feel like they're mainly just tweeting their favorite team.
Which tends to be TSM more than not.
You think?
By the crowd reaction typically tends to be. Guys, we are getting ourselves into the game. Here we go. Number 4 of the day. And we are starting off right. Because it's a pause. Just gives us time to talk about these teams a little bit more then instead. So
yeah, Azingi, as the new player setup, is running into just a few hiccups here. You could see they were unpacking his keyboard for the first time. He had to have the sealed copy of his keyboard right there. And I imagine it is a technical issue related to one of those things. But yeah, I mean, we can keep talking about, I'd say, the team compositions right now, because there are still ways that Dignitas can play this in order to pull ahead with the double AD composition that has Renekton, and it basically has to come from overwhelming lane victory, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so too. Dignitas going to hope that works out well for them. However, TSM, they are playing something unusual for them, not unusual for the LCS, but it's Bjergsen's first Lissandra game, and he says, guys, we don't want to fall into bad habits. We want to make sure we keep improving every single time we play.
It's more just when you have been complacent before in the past, you can really catch yourself like, oh, am I doing this again? Why am I not like waking up on time? Why am I not perhaps like not eating before a scrim set or something? So we try to catch each other as a team constantly and talk to Loco about like, what are we doing? Are we being complacent or are we practicing at a top level?
And games like this are ones you don't want to be complacent about. It's a game you expect TSM to win with how far above Dignitas they are in the standings.
Yeah, and they definitely did have a small bit of complacency in their game against Gravity back in week 4 when they did that, you know, Zed with 7 offensive items from Bjergsen, and they ended up dying a whole bunch of times. But yeah, we are back into the game.
All right, we are back on this one. And curiously, if we can hover over this Vi, she has 26 ability power. Now, Ignite is not on cooldown. That's not the reason.
Oh dear.
That is ability power, Quints, and Glyphs on Vi.
So what happened there was Azingi loaded into the game with the wrong runes. However, I believe because the rune check would have been done, you cannot remake the game if it is your own fault for going in with the wrong runes. If there is a bug determined that makes you go into the wrong runes, you can't. But this time, he does have the wrong runes in this game as Vi. Not the best place to start in the LCS.
Dignitas preparing the level 1 again. They did this against CLG. This time to less catastrophic results, though. And Lustboy loses a whole lot of health. And Kiwi Kid just got himself either 15 gold for that one. So, hey. Now, Azingi, I think, is just following in the footsteps of the late, great Hotshot GG, where in the very first LCS game ever, he played against TSM with no runes at all, and they won that game.
Is that the secret?
Yep.
I'm very interested to see how he can even sustain in the jungle as an AP start on Vi. This would have been like his Fiddlesticks or Karthus page, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, he had one ready. He clearly knew he could have played the champion. So the E does have an AP ratio. In fact, it'll do 18 bonus damage per cast. So his AoE is going to be real good later on in the game.
But for now, he's in trouble. This is not something TSM is going to realize until they see him. They will know there was a pause for a technical issue of some kind, but they obviously won't know the reason. I wonder if we'll see Santorin get to walk over this game a little bit, knowing the other jungler is so handicapped here.
Right now, standard clears, though. Vi tends to run attack damage and attack speed for those pages, so does punch weaker than normal. But, you know, so far so good. Vi, one of the, let's say, safer clearers thanks to that passive shield. And that aforementioned E bonus damage, he did learn at level 2.
It is just so slow, though. I mean, look where Santorin is in his jungle right now. He'd already cleared 2 camps. Krugs were taken elsewhere, and he's already made it to his blue buff, whereas Zingy with the same 2-camp clear is a good 10 to 15 seconds behind. But we know how that is. We're probably going to have to focus on the rest of the map. Santorin should have a big edge.
Yeah, so we have gotten ourselves into standard lanes. Shifter 1v1ing Bjergsen in the mid lane. This used to be one of the big marquee matchups in the North American LCS as well, where Shifter was one of the players that could really challenge Bjergsen's throne as best mid NA.
Yeah, Shifter's definitely had a decent-sized fall-off since he had the amazing Deathless KDA type games, especially in his CS. I mean, if you compare amongst mid laners this year, CS at 10, Bjergsen is the #1 mid laner at 83, and Shifter is the #9 mid laner at 71. It's a very big difference. So picking Ezreal and Dignitas needing to win this early game / laning phase heavily in order to win the game puts them in a pretty difficult position.
See if we can keep their heads in it, and Dignitas can maybe get out of these lanes. We look at the rest of the matchups, and actually, they're kind of all pretty grim right now. You can look at the scoreboard down there. Renekton of all champions, curiously, actually behind just a little bit under Dyrus, but he's pushed in, so you expect that to go back up. But their bot lane, CoreJJ and Kiwi Kid, a lane we have actually complimented many times for their laning plays. Maybe they turn it around here. A little bit of a trade, but they're down 9 minions early game.
I've actually seen this bottom lane matchup fall in the side of Sivir in really good Sivir players because they can spell shield the buckshot and then try and out-trade that way. Wild Turtle and Lustboy have not been typically strong laners in the NALCS thus far, partly because Wild Turtle takes bad trades and partly because Lustboy is very committed to roaming and helping the rest of the map.
That's true.
This one will be currently in the favor of Wild Turtle, but there's always kill pressure when you're against Kiwi Kid and CoreJJ.
We'll see how much pressure as well the Vi and Rek'Sai can put in as this game goes on as well. As they get pushed down and back, ward control ends up being a really important factor, and Kiwi Kid did just put a trinket ward in the lane brush, meaning he's missing one for River. So either they miss vision control or Zingy wards for them. And that might spell Santorin coming in.
So, talking about this game a little bit more team comp-wise, Dyrus has a very straightforward build path here. I think he wants to get Frozen Heart almost as quickly as possible. Maybe he does the Rod of Aegis to Frozen Heart, but I'd almost expect this to be one of those Catalyst to Righteous Glory games with a very quick Frozen Heart. Because as soon as Dyrus becomes a big-time frontline, he shuts down pretty much everybody on Team Dignitas. Yes, Gamsu and Zingy can have small amounts of armor shred, but that's just simply not enough to deal with an incredibly tanky Maokai Rek'Sai frontline. Basically, before Dyrus gets Frozen Heart, Dignitas needs to have an edge on this game.
Kiwi Kid's Ignite has to flash away early and thankfully dodges the Void Spike, but in comes a Zingy at the same time. Nice knockup by Santorin, stops the damage, and out goes a Zingy. Level 5 Rek'Sai flash knockup onto CoreJJ as well. The binding misses. The flash from Wild Turtle is not enough, but the Void Spike's going to be, and Santorin picks up first blood.
Oh no.
Oh, Shifter! Nearly gets 2 of them for it.
Yeah, that was a very close engagement right there. Zingy had some nice timing on his counter gank. That was the right position for him to be in as Vi. But he was not able to get his Vault Breaker onto the priority target. They ended up barely dying on the fall away, and then Shifter only barely able to salvage that because the lanes are still losing.
Yeah, they absolutely are. He's down in minions, and keep in mind it was first blood gold plus an assisted kill, so it's actually, that kill is worth twice as much as Dignitas's kill, even though the scoreboard says 1-1. TSM do get that 90% vote, to the surprise of probably no one. Oh!
Yeah, that's when the Shifter ultimate killed someone.
Yep.
Went back 3%.
And pulling in a lot of the fans by himself. We'll see if that can keep going. Santorin just hopping through some tunnels. He could have just used one right there.
I feel like he has an excess of tunnels in that lane. As far as this gank is concerned, though, Kiwi Kid, nice timing on the flash. And TSM had burned plenty of their cooldowns right there. Wow. And Zingy just was a little too short with that flash Q. He could have potentially Q flashed and completely avoided Santorin. He didn't expect the giant model size of Rek'Sai to interrupt his Vault Breaker because it was right on the edge of that thing.
Yeah.
that honestly could have gone either way.
Absolutely could have, but unfortunately a little bit too close. And if I do know my mechanics correctly, simply right-clicking someone as Rek'Sai will automatically pop up when they are in range. So
To auto attack, yes, because it will queue up the auto attack.
right, so Turtle late on the spell shield means Buckshot comes in after a second and a half, and Wild Turtle takes a pretty bad trade, but he is still up BF Sword in this lane matchup.
Yeah, but because of the BF Sword, he has a somewhat lack of health potions. His ability to sustain back up there is diminished. He did spell shield the all-important ultimate, though, saving his skin.
That was absolutely massive.
Yeah.
Wait, was that a Lust Boy shield or a spell shield, though? Because I'm unsure which.
I'll have to double check, but I believe that looked like a spell shield. Wild Turtle also spell shielded that Lysandra. I'll check that right now for you.
All right. But either way, though, fast reaction from someone certainly meant no meaningful damage was taken in that trade overall. And Cora JJ's flash now missing due to the fast reactions of the TSM bot lane.
It was not a spell shield. It was just Lust Boy and potentially misjudged managed by Core JJ. I thought it would have been in kill range.
Close, but not quite enough. So Dignitas losing out on a summoner and 1,000 gold right here. They're trying to keep themselves some level of vision control by contesting Scuttle Crabs. And they can try to hold Santorin down if they can get vision there. But now it's already the invades are happening. Santorin was the one who got the Scuttler down here. He went in, got the blue buff as well. Azingi is late to the party. Doesn't have anything to do. Bjergsen just nearby in case something happened. Clears a pink, gets a ward down. TSM have now 5 wards in Dignitas' side of the map at this time. It's actually 6.
Just spectacular vision control. Tracking Azingi's every movement. Santorin able to just keep the pressure up as Rek'Sai. The mid lane is fairly easily going the way of Bjergsen. I'm actually a little bit flabbergasted he's rushed a Negatron Cloak against an AD mid laner.
It's not. Look at those items. I just saw it.
Oh, it's an AP Ezreal.
It's AP Ezreal.
We're foolish.
Shifter's maxing W first.
I've been too focused on the other stuff this game, freak. All right.
I only just saw it now.
Yeah.
I was going to say it right before you did.
Yeah. That's why I was flabbergasted about the item build. Bjergsen clearly paying attention to the item choices.
Oh my god, though. Bottom lane gank comes off. Great Vialt and Lust Boy not able to spell shield that one. Wild Turtle, rather. And Lust Boy takes a Morgana ult, just walks out. No spells left for the top lane dive. 3-man to the top lane. They're going to take down Gamsu. So same idea as other side of the map. Bit of wave clear. And they will not get top lane turret, but Dig will go for Dragon.
Yeah, a flurry of action erupting right there with the kill bottom lane as well as the kill top lane. And now Dignitas is trying to take the objective off the back because they were the ones focusing ganks bottom lane. That is, by nature, the benefit of focusing ganks bottom lane is if you do have success, you get to turn it into a team objective as well. Kill on a pretty good target there for Team Dignitas with Core JJ, as well as being able to pick up this Dragon.
Alrighty, so equal in kills still, but Dignitas losing the landing phase by virtue of farm here. You can see a 10 minion difference in the top lane, a 25 minion in the mid. Let's actually watch the Vi gank we missed.
Yeah, and it's surprising that this was able to be successful because of the wards, but since Azingi just queued over the wall to an instant ultimate, it was a poor kiting choice by Wild Turtle to favor the river when literally everything is warded. Very surprised they were able to die to a Vi gank after spending so many wards for that very same security. Props to Azingi to making it work.
Absolutely, props to him. So 0-1-1 going for the Trailblazer for now. Merlin Namakan now completed on the Ezreal, so low cooldowns for Ezreals.
Yeah.
Should be a whole lot of wave clear.
And a little bit of mana regeneration as well. This is what we now have to talk about because we've been neglecting it so much and it kind of changes our storyline a little bit. Dignitas being that fully physical damage team,
yeah.
The only way they actually have a chance late game is if Shifter does hit 400 to 500 AP as well as having a Lich Bane and can then make it so TSM actually has to put some of their defensive gold into Magic Resist, which is already working a bit in the early game, making Bjergsen go for that Negatron Cloak.
Kemsu, realizing he was going to die, teleports out of lane. Recall wouldn't have been enough. He will lose the turret for it. All the same, I think Ezreal still not going to be enough. They will knock it down, so the roaming from Santorin and Bjergsen. Now again, the ulti, nice spell shield blocks Morgana Soul Shackle, and the counter engage is here. No TP, of course, from Gamsu means Core JJ is going to die to Wild Turtle, 3-2 in this game.
Really nice job by Dyrus to teleport right there. This is actually one of the few games where Dyrus gets a lot of attention, ganks top lane. The second time they sent 3-man ganking top lane, Gamsu teleports away. The first one was a kill, and this allowed Dyrus the freedom to have the teleport edge and get that kill. Santorin from behind the jungle.
Hold on, though. The ulti is not going to be up from Lissandra. Now, can Azingi survive? The answer is no. Bjergsen could go for a 2-kill here. Jumps away just in time. 50 health left on Shifter.
Wow. The sustained damage there with the max Q on Lissandra like everyone does to kind of turn that one around. Bottom lane gank, though. We'll just get to see kind of the overexposure by Dignitas right here. Kiwi Kid flashing in because they thought they had the 3v2. However, it was a 3v3 with a very large top laner. Core JJ had also overexpended himself. Kind of lucky to not lose Kiwi Kid in that one as well. Great teleport time. And this game is actually getting out of hand pretty quick.
It is. It's 3,500 gold up at 13.5 minutes. That's a pretty decent margin here for TSM. Their wards actually... So they haven't even knocked down all the outer turrets yet, and they're warding like behind the buffs. You're seeing one that Gamsu's walking by right here in the north jungle. It's actually behind red buff. They can actually see Azingi just barely with that ward. Core JJ just walked over one as well. TSM are constantly getting this incredibly good vision control.
And a lot of that is on Santorin. It's a little bit easier to do with Rek'Sai as well. Once people have gotten used to using the Tremor Sense on Rek'Sai, this is going to be tricky for him to find that ward.
All right.
But he does it just in time. Because as he's moving around, not only can Vi be spotted by any of the wards they've already placed, but if anyone else is near, he will be tipped off well in advance. Plus, you look at guys like Dyrus and Bjergsen, they've pretty much been pushing their lane opponent back to the turret to begin with, so he'd be able to get back up as well. Sidestone on Rek'Sai, continual vision coverage, and it makes a much more measured match for TSM.
4,000 gold now. Since we last checked in, these guys absolutely destroying the bot lane. Not going to get pressured too easily. Azingi standing on a ward as he does this. Dyrus, thanks to the wards of Santorin, is safe to push in this far. Like basically underneath tier 2 turret. He's not being pressured. More wards come out. Lustboy's been rotated top lane.
There needs to be pressure elsewhere on the map if Team Dignitas wants to save off this Gamsu camp that is basically happening. It's very smart of Azingi to be bottom lane here, since he is the weaker jungler right now, to avoid the enemy jungler and apply some lane pressure.
So Wild Turtle Lustboy, they left the lane without really clearing the wave enough, and it allowed Dick to push back in. Gamsu now going to go for the fight up against Dyrus. The minion wave is getting cleared on both sides. A nice knockback in 6 seconds still on the Ruthless Predator. Means no chase available for Renekton. He burns the ulti for mostly nothing. Bjergsen getting another blue buff here at level 11. And he's still looking pretty good.
Yeah, Gamsu has been a beast in the last few games, especially when he is playing Renekton. It's interesting to see how TSM is definitely just trying to camp him as much as possible, knowing that he is the guy who could get going and really cause huge problems in team fights, at least in the mid-game. Keeping him down has been successful. They just have to watch out from the long game from Shifter as he's building up those ability power items.
Yeah, he's building best he can, missing a little bit of minions just because it's a bit harder to CS on a turret as AP as real. Your Q is on a higher cooldown, has less base damage, you don't have any attack damage in the first place, but the build seems to be...
strange. We're so used to seeing the Trinity Force Muramana Ezreal that we just all assume, I assume,
good laner,
we're just going to see that
whatever.
again.
I want to see if it's Lich Bane.
It has to be.
Well, I mean, obviously the Sheen's going to turn to that at some point, but I wonder if that's just next is all.
If he went Morella Nomicon to an Iceborne Gauntlet, I would be so angry.
Oh, doesn't quite land that one. Santorin is safe, and he knows Dignitas is over the wall over there.
That was so clever there by Santorin, though. One thing that people love to do against Rek'Sai is get into a brush and then stand still, because Tremor Sense will not reveal people that are not moving, especially since they're on top of a pink ward. The fact that he recognized that was a hole in his vision just to shoot something in there and make sure they were still there, I find really impressive. Santorin's playing great this game.
Gamsu has teleport, but the ward control's here for TSM. There will be no contest for the Dragon, just a true shot barrage. Now top lane is being pushed all the same, so Gamsu might knock down a turret, and in fact he will. So TSM's first Dragon will get traded in for this outer turret that fell down. So Dignitas still doing well to trade, but we're not able to push mid out despite no one there defending.
honestly, the fact that Team Dignitas has been able to pick up 2 turrets here is very good for their chances. The game was kind of running away from them when it was 2 turrets to 0, since they had been getting pushed back so heavily in lanes. But because they've been pushed back in lanes, the fact that turrets are 2 for 2 right now speaks to some sloppy wave management there by TSM. I'm very surprised they allowed Gamsu to get that return turret after being so heavily pressured through the early game.
Yeah. Well, speaking of pressure through the early game, though, Bjergsen has managed to keep Shifter's turret very well pressured. It's nearly dead, and Shifter hit 200 minions at almost exactly 18 minutes. Definitely one of the faster marks we've seen in the North American LCS. He hasn't been under any pressure at all. No kill threat, no ganks seem to be attempted, and Bjergsen just hasn't missed any minions as a result of that. And you're right, there's the Frozen Heart into Righteous Glory for Dyrus, by the way. That is the build after all.
Yeah, he made it to his Frozen Heart. Not as important because of the AP Ezreal, but I would still say it's quite significant since it is not much mixed damage coming out of the jungle either. It's pretty much 3 full physical damage dealers and just the AP Ezreal and Morgana for magic damage.
There we go, TSM get themselves that mid lane turret. So, TSM's some lead is overall out CS-ing
He's got to run fast. He is getting cut off.
Oh, be careful. Blue Trinket's going to spot that something was happening. And it's that Azingi is trying to desperately run away. He does have Kiwi Kid around, but Kiwi Kid moves. So they know he's there as well. The binding's going to miss. Black Shield into ulti. Lissandro doing the same thing, though. And they pick up 1. They're going to pick up 2 almost for sure. And they do. They lead him into Kiwi Kid for the death.
Team Solomid recognized when they had Azingi out of position. They just chased him, cutting off all areas of retreat. Ended up costing Kiwi Kid as well, who would have wanted to just try and recall away as that collapse was happening.
Wild Turtle spot in the Ezreal through a ward. Easy spell shield, blue buff, steal all the same by knocking everyone down. And Team Solo Mid, you mentioned maybe missing a couple of minion waves here and there and not keeping them under control, but by and large still they are playing much better as a team, constantly in the face. Dyrus now contesting a red buff. Lustboy's going to ward that up. Just there is really nowhere Dignitas can go without being spotted.
Yeah, this is not quite a perfect game by TSM. I'm sure there's things that they would have liked to do better in the first 20 minutes. You know, not giving up the top lane turret to Gamsu, not getting killed by that Ezreal ult early on when they could have just hopefully seen it called out by Bjergsen and being more on the alert for it. But aside from that, strategically, they've played quite well. Their lanes are generally stronger here. Their team composition in the late game is better, and they're controlling the early game with a better late game team, which can't really ask for much more.
You really can't. So TSM looking poised to continue their dominance of first place. With a win here, they actually would guarantee first place by the end of the week, if you count tiebreakers against CLG. And so, still looking like the great North American hope. We got to run into them and ask them where their sort of priorities lie. In terms of, are you prepping for your opponents this week? Are you prepping maybe for IEM? That's in about a week and a half for these guys.
Good question.
And he said, well, I mean, it's a mix of both. Like, we do care about prepping for IEM because it's international, you know, this is important, but Wild Turtles really did not say that he was slacking off at the NALCS prep. And we're very poised to beat these guys up. Azingi getting caught out one more time by Bjergsen, forced to flash out. Black Shield keeps him safe. Good save by Kiwi Kid. TSM just continuing to mount pressure. Dyrus is now splitting in the bottom lane in case these guys want to rush a Baron at some point.
I think they're going to go for that right now. Doesn't look like there's all that much Dignitas can do about it. Jeez, I mean, Kiwi Kid could ward and they could teleport in with Gamsu, but even that would be pretty dangerous. They know Azingi's gone, so the threat of a steal is low. Shifter's ultimate did come up, though. He's got to shoot it off to try and steal.
He's going to try. No, not going to be quite in time. Good smite at about 600 health from Santorin means Baron at 22 minutes goes to Team Solo Mid.
Yeah, this game could actually be over sooner rather than later with the way it's moving along right now. Dyrus reaching his tank items. Bjergsen reaching some major item spikes as well with Merlinomicon and Zonya's finish. Plus the catch potentially have with Wild Turtle. They're in position to make some big power plays now.
And the cool thing about these guys is those 3 melee minions have 80% damage reduction to champions, so Shifter's Lichbane, or even the ultimate, they would wave clear well. Lichbane gives him 180 bonus damage on his Q, or anything that has a trigger on it, but just simply can't kill the minions off if someone for TSM are babysitting them. And we'll see what they actually try to do with their gold lead.
To talk a bit about the TSM story and where their focus is, honestly. I mean, we've seen through their show TSM Legends as well that it's kind of all about the long game and overall team improvement. While yes, it's important to win week over week, it's more important that they're always improving as a team. The episode they actually had, whoopsie daisy. The episode they actually had last week showed Reginald after that game they had against Gravity, which was very sloppy near the end. Wild Turtle flashing for a kill on the Nexus. Bjergsen building nothing but offensive items on Zed and dying a few times. Showed a little bit of messing around, trolling in the game a little bit. And Reginald said that he doesn't ever want to see that again because it leads to sloppiness and complacency, which is something they absolutely cannot have. So that's why they want to be able to make quick work of the bottom tier teams in the North American LCS, and why they're not necessarily fully focused on a week to week, because it is about the team progression mindset and week over week improvement.
And it is partially what we attribute the last week loss to Team Liquid as, was, look, we're going to try new things out. We're in first place. We feel comfortable with our playoff position so far. Let's get new things in the repertoire. Let's make sure we're ready for playoff. Let's make sure we're ready for the World Championship. Let's make sure we understand what Hecarim top and Victor mid do. Bjergsen playing his very first Lissandra game this year, this game, and the amount he's roamed out of lane helped Dyrus, something else new for TSM, get Dyrus rolling.
Yep.
This part of the TSM let's learn new things strategy is working.
Oh,
nice.
Man, Santorin.
That was
Rude. So that ward actually isn't spotted because the rock cuts off the vision line. So Gamsu didn't realize that was ward, and of course now the ward dies. So it's definitely not there.
They'll never know. So man, that tremor sense really got me.
Yeah, so if you're pink warding that brush, you actually want the pink ward a little bit farther back so the vision line doesn't get cut off on the other side of that brush.
And Bjergsen making the top lane siege. 20 minutes in, the blue elixir, he seems to do that very frequently. And gives him a lot of extra damage when he knocks down turrets. But they rotate right away to mid lane. They pulled so many guys top that they can push mid. Tier 2 is going to die. Dyrus leads the charge. There we go, 200 more gold onto the Maokai. And back to top lane.
Yep, they're going to try and get the 6 turrets down. Obviously their Baron wasn't maximized for any types of team fights because Dignitas recognized that if they lost a fight during the Baron buff, the game would be over. That doesn't mean Dignitas is strong enough to actually fight either, so the outer turrets, the ones that are harder to defend, are most likely taken down here by TSM. Dignitas has to run.
There's the try to engage. They're going to find a whole lot with Lissandra and Maokai. 1 casualty so far, make that 2. TSM fighting under inhibitor turrets and making Dignitas run away. This turret's going to be now a quick claim for TSM as they wave clear some minions away. There's turret number 6 and kill number 8.
Yeah, Dignitas was hoping to maybe bait a fight that stretches into their inhibitor turrets, where they can use the vast power of that laser to take down some of the tanks, because right now their champions certainly aren't strong enough to do so. Wasn't quite enough, though. They died before they could really get to safety. Here we see Dyrus just jumping in with Righteous Glory. The pile-on team composition. I mean, this is what we saw in Champion Select. Then they somewhat avoid the turret aggro because Bjergsen has Zhonya's, Santorin gets the Janna shield, and they get their damage out on people that did not have the damage reduced by the turret. I suppose going to try something cheeky here. Wild Turret is just going to do the brute force method.
Oh, Shifter has no warmth at all. There's the flash in by Lustboy and everyone else. There's the quick kill pickup. Blue F to Wild Turtle and a red for killing Ezreal, I believe. No, I take that part back. You already had it. But either way, yeah, get the blue. Why the heck not? Still a good buff. 6 turrets down. Baron's timed out. No dragon just yet. But have been pushing some bases.
It's looking like TSM is going to try their best here. Dignitas has okay wave clear because of the Graves, and it is kind of hard to dive against the smoke screen as well. But TSM is going to try and shove up as many waves as possible. Eliminate the wave clear possibilities from Dig. They're going to try a desperation fight here.
He gets some good damage on Bjergsen, but Zhonya's is still up for the guy, and they already pick off the Vi. Bjerg not forced to use any of his major cooldowns for this. CoreJJ will finally take the Liss ulti, and that's a 2 for 0 so far. Frozen Tomb really living up to its name. Gamsu now also falling 3 for 0. And a new wave coming in top and mid right now.
I don't blame Team Dignitas for taking that fight. They knew they had to do something, and why not try and fight while the team is a little bit split up, but it gives up the inhibitor. Baron's on the way in a minute. Maybe Team Solomid tries to take another turn, or they just wait for their seemingly inevitable victory.
And for now, they're going to keep the minion waves mopped up. Bot is pushing back towards the TSM side of the map, so maybe that has to be held at some point in the next minute and a half. But they just picked up another 3,000 gold from recent fights. Let's recall, let's buy some more items. Phantom Dancer's done now on Sivir. Why not get a full Last Whisper in one purchase?
Wow.
Yeah, he's ahead.
How much gold was he actually shopping with? 3,100 gold.
So that was individually in Wild Turtle, not
Yep.
just all of TSM. Okay. I was close.
Now for Team Solomid, based on, honestly, what I saw in the TSM Legend show, it's all about ending the game quickly and cleanly. They probably don't want to suffer any more deaths. They don't want to do any stylish plays. They just want to execute and close the game in as concise a way as possible. Probably waiting for the Baron, and then pushing up one of the exposed lanes and going from there. Making sure they don't get caught out by trying to push the lanes up. Just play clean.
Mm-hmm. So off they send Maokai to the bot lane. Baron just respawned. Dragons in 30. Of course, Maokai has teleport, so Dignitas, even though they feel like they might be ahead, they're actually not, and they're running away from this one. Black Shield will stop Santorin from unburrowing under a Zingy. But either way, Dignitas are still the team pushed away, even though Wild Turtle was actually nowhere to be seen for that fight. He's only just now rejoining TSM.
Well, Bjergsen was scary enough.
Oh, of course he is. Zingy again, gotta be real careful. Void Spike can't quite land the slow, but there's Chilling Smite. Jumps just far enough over the wall to get away from the reach. Once again gets out. Now they're trying to knock down Dyrus. They spend Core JJ and Gamsu's time to do this. It is a 4 versus 3 elsewhere on the map. This Maokai is still slowly running away. There's the flash burn by Gamsu for a stun. But Dyrus is gonna die! The last attack crits. Ezel comes in early.
So now you'd want Gamsu to teleport in to try and save this one, but there's just not enough people on Dignitas in the surrounding area. They're still going to be able to turn a Baron off this, I think.
Oh,
he still has teleport. Gamsu should use it.
Shifter goes in, looks for the Baron! He goes down first, though. And TSM do claim that one for themselves. Santorin had used Smite, I believe, to help kill the enemy jungler. It makes it a overall 2-for-1, and then Baron number 2.
Gonna say that wasn't clean.
No.
If I had to say it. But they do get the Baron. A few more kills across the board. Dyrus suffers his first death. Shifter tried to make the hero play.
Uh-oh. Gamsu stayed a little bit long. This is going to be a much shorter chase than the last one. He didn't even move. He knew. Baron empowered recalls. They ran through the jungle to flank him. That was nice.
Dragon number 3 on the way.
Yep. Now Team Solo mid, 31 minutes now into the game. Middle inhibitor got taken down. They grabbed Baron. They grabbed Dragon right after. The Maokai split push worked. He died, but so what? You got Baron for it. Bjergsen was outside the pit that whole time waiting for a Zingy. They picked him off well before Baron was stealable. That was pretty nice.
Bjergsen with the Baron buff as well as a death cap completion puts his ability power at 751. On the Lissandra, very little magic resistance has been able to be bought by Dignitas. Plus the Baron minions are here. Dyrus takes the turret. Bjergsen, no! Caught out on his own.
A bit alone in this one. Gonna pop the instant zonies as well, which means he dodges Core JJ's ultimate, and it's a 1-for-0 so far as Zingy also getting caught. There's just no damage output left for TSM. Bjergsen maybe just baited all of Dignitas by himself. Dig Force run away. Nice route there for Dyrus. Can they knock down Gamsu? The answer is yes. Bjergsen shows up. Maybe he can. Nope. Okay, take it back. Double kill for Dyrus. Shifter getting chased by Santorin. He might just die. One more attack. No, he's going to heal.
That'll be it. They have Baron minions and 4 people live. TSM looks like they're going to be closing out this game with Baron, I think.
Looks like they should be able to. Shifter now with no ultimate. 3 seconds on the Morgana. There goes Nexus turret number 2 right here. And with Wild Turtle being the only casualty of the fight, they are now going to go for the fight. Shifter gets 1. Still goes down. This will be the Nexus finally. 32 minutes, 23 seconds into the game. TSM in control the entire time.
Some pretty quick games today, honestly. A lot of these North American teams have been able to end the match in a fairly quick fashion. This one by TSM, it showed them being in control for the majority of the game. Obviously, a lot of that came from the strength of Bjergsen. This time, it was Bjergsen making his own advantage and then helping out Dyrus more so. I mean, we talked about that at the start of the day. Dyrus normally having to fend off 1 to 3 attackers. This time he turned the tables on Gamsu. Had his own team to back him up. Shut him down.
Absolutely impressive play by the whole of TSM, really. Wild Turtle with a lot of very clutch spell shields. The one where he blocked a Flash Soul Shack was very impressive. Lust Boy with a clutch shield to block a Graze collateral damage earlier on in the game. Just the small mechanical plays, very nice by TSM. Bjergsen's roaming, as you mentioned, very good as well. Smiles on the faces of this team, and why not? This was a largely very well-played game by these guys.
Yeah, it definitely was. That moves him to 9-2. Staying in first place. Really unfortunate debut by Azingi for Team Dignitas. Going into the match with the wrong rune page, kind of stopping him before. You don't need to stack disadvantages like that. First game with the new team against the #1 team in the North American LCS, and you start with 26 ability power. Doesn't help.
Doesn't help indeed. Maybe, he gets into that counter gank 10 seconds faster and he turns that one around. I mean, it's a lot of hypotheticals that you maybe don't want to waste your breath talking about. It's hard to say, like, this was one of the key reasons that one gank couldn't turn it all around, but certainly Azingi 0-7-2.
I mean, it puts you in a hole before the game begins.
Sure it does.
That's the biggest problem.
Yeah, that's fair.
So he would have had to play that much more better
yeah,
than Centauran.
No, you're right. So that did not happen there. Shifter on Ezreal, losing team, but 3-3-0. Core JJ actually the same score line. So, like, you're still seeing individual contributions are there for Dignitas, and I feel like outside of them trying to find a jungler that works, individual contributions was never the problem for Dig.
Right.
But it's getting the entire team on the same page, or getting the entire team on the same skill level almost, really, where they're trying to find an LCS-worthy jungler. And that game shows us they still might continue that search.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell what happens after one game.
I know.
Right? It definitely didn't start off on the right foot. I think we can say that. But there's plenty of games to play. They got one tomorrow.
All right, we'll see what Dignitas can do tomorrow. I believe they will play Team 8, but for now, going to send it over to the analyst desk to break down TSM's 9th win of the split.
Thank you, Freak, Freak, Sir Freak, as coined earlier in the broadcast. A solid win by TSM there, showing dominating form, as Freak had pointed out, in that they are looking to no longer become complacent, and I believe they did that there. They didn't, futz around in the mid game anymore. They just went for it.
Yep, no more toying with their food. They just went straight for the throat. They were done.
Showing that they can overcome the AP Ezreal buy strategy.
And that's an unfortunate thing. I mean, we have to take that into consideration when we look at this loss for Dignitas, is the fact that they had, an AP Vi in the jungle. She comes out of the jungle with no wards after her first back because she can't even clear enough camps to get that vision control, and is playing from a deficit the entire way through the game.
Honestly, I feel so bad for Azingi for his first game in the LCS. Not only did he already have to go up against TSM, the #1 team, but he has to go up against them on Vi with AP runes. I've done this before. When you forget to switch rune pages, it's a terrible experience trying to clear early with AP runes. And on top of that, like their team, they
talk to me, Kobe. Talk to me about their team.
I feel like they were in Champion Select and they got down to the last pick and they picked in Ezreal, and then they're like, "Oh, we don't have any AP, guys." And then Shifter was like, "I got this. Don't worry. I'm gonna go AP Ezreal." And Ziggy's like, "Yeah, me too. I'm gonna go AP too. We're gonna be fine." But like, even if you're planning on going AP Ezreal this game,
not.
Once you see Lissandra and Maokai and picking that into, they went into this game with a really, really, really steep hill to climb.
Exactly, yeah.
Try and come back.
There might be a time and a place for an AP Ezreal, but it is not against a Maokai and a Lissandra, because you're forced to be more aggressive with Eing in and being in range for Ws.
You also can't burst anybody either. And even if there is a squishy, Maokai's going to make them less squishy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the Arcane Shift is even a part of the AP Ezreal combo, but to do it, you have to be close, and you're going to get
fucked up.
Yeah, so I do want to jump into our replay, because was a fun interaction in the bottom lane. And this is one of the, if we analyze Zingy's play, he was in the right place at the right time for a counter gank. So we're going to go to that 6-minute mark into the game, the first gank attempt down in the bot lane. And Kobe, I'm going to let you run with this one.
All right, so this is a pretty cool play because they see Vi coming. So Santorin sneaks into the bush, and they're trying to play this one and bait it in. So let's roll this clip. And we'll see Zingy does come down. And Vi, when you get your Vault Breaker off, it turns your whole body. If anybody touches your body, then they get hit with the Vault Breaker and they get knocked up. But Santorin uses the Rek'Sai extra range from Unburrow, which is just not fair in this matchup. All he has to do is auto attack on Vi as he's coming in, and you get the extra range. You never have to touch the body of Vi, so you don't get hit with Vault Breaker. And Rek'Sai just wins that matchup there and saves Sivir.
It was a great snipe there too by Shifter, at least making it a 1-for-1 in that exchange.
I kind of got lost in the Rek'Sai Vi interaction there, but what I really want to touch on also was the cool synergy. Wild Turtle and Les Boy trust each other so much that he was like, my shield is on cooldown, I'm going to Janna shield you, so you flash in for this one auto attack, because he thought that would be just enough to kill him, and it wasn't quite enough, and Santorin even follows on with it as well. These guys, their teamwork is really, really strong right now.
Yep, that Prey Seeker has deceptive range.
It is 1600.
Yeah, it's
the same range as your Tremor Sense to compensate.
And we do also, that does bring up the point, and Jat gave credit where credit was due during the game. The Santorin was utilizing the kit from Rek'Sai really well that game in checking bushes, knowing that there is even the possibility that somebody is sitting in there not moving, because your Tremor Sense does not reveal people who are standing still.
Yeah, I think you can just spam that as Rek'Sai. It's free to cast, low cooldown. Should always be checking brush with it.
It also has almost no cast time on it. The frames on it are extremely low. It used to at one point, but then it's just, nope, it didn't feel good.
Yeah.
So you can immediately burrow and cast Q at the same time, and it flies out.
Should do that while clearing in the jungle as well.
Awesome.
People also always forget to get off a Q before they get another knock.
Before they unburrow. Yeah, absolutely. So at the end of the day, like we said, we can't put too much stock into just one game. I mean, regardless of the setback of having the AP runes, I like to think that we give people a game or two to really fall into the routine of the LCS.
Zingy deserves more of a chance, because that was not a fair game.
But what do we look then for him to do? Is there a lesson to be learned from this game aside from picking the right master race?
Pick Fiddlesticks next time you have your Fiddlesticks room page.
Well, that wouldn't have been a bad Fiddlesticks comp either. Like, just looking at it, right? You want some AP damage if you're running double AD. You want some big AP threat. And if they're going to dive your backline,
playing on an AP Ezreal the whole time.
It's somewhat of a zoning threat. I don't know. Well, anyway, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I would be very curious to see him pull out one of those, interesting champion picks in the Fiddlesticks or the Karthus, just to see things shaken up in the LCS, and it might throw some teams off guard. Well, there is still more League coming your way after this break. Counterlogic Gaming faces off against Winter Fox. Stay with us.
Guys, we're gearing up for our next match. It's Team Solomid versus Team Dignitas. Level 5 Rek'Sai flash knockup onto Core JJ as well. The binding misses. The flash from Wild Turtle is not enough to engage. They're going to find a whole lot with Asandra and Maokai. One casualty so far, make that two. TSM fighting under inhibitor turret.
Take a Zingy, kill a Zingy. I'm hurting Earth. As ulted. I'm going for core.
Rin. Morgana ulted, but gonna pop the instant zonies as well, which means he dodges Core JJ's ultimate, and it's a 1-for-0 so far as Zingy also getting caught. TSM in control the entire time.